Any minute now, lawyers on both sides of the Freddie Gray case are set to appear before a judge to argue whether to move the trial against those officers indicted in Gray's death. In the meantime, this is what it looks like outside the courthouse in Baltimore. Police out in force, so you can hear the protesters. They're already starting to gather and gearing up. They are demanding the trial stay in Baltimore. The defense will argue this cannot be done, that riots and unrest, along with yesterday's $6.4 million settlement for the Gray family, have unfairly biased a potential jury pool. So let's talk about that. I'm joined by Jean Cassara. She's live at Baltimore City Hall, and CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Philip Holloway. Jean, I want to start with you. What's happening now?
Well, you see the protesters right there. We figure there are about a dozen of them. And the whole issue is they know that this is a pivotal decision because this community wants this trial here in Baltimore. This is their case. This is what happened to them. But the defense is saying, and they have said it through motions, they don't believe that the 6 police officer defendants can get a fair and impartial trial in Baltimore. Why? Because it's everything that we watched on television. They experienced it live here in May. The burning, the looting, the violent crimes, the property damage, all of that was in the name of Freddie Gray, for justice for Freddie Gray. In addition to that, schools were closed and everybody in the city had to comply with the curfew. So the defense is saying under the Maryland Constitution that, number one, it is true that they cannot get a fair and impartial trial, or that there are reasonable grounds that they cannot get a fair and impartial trial. And if the judge determines that, he has to change venue for these trials. The defense is also relying upon the Supreme Court of the United States, saying that if there is a presumption of prejudice, and they will show that by everything that happened here, they believe that the trial must be moved. But the prosecution is saying, wait a minute, this is wrong. You are making an assumption that the people of this community cannot be fair and impartial, and that's not right. We need to talk to potential jurors. We need to see what their state of mind is. And it's antiquated and it's old-fashioned for you just to change venue without trying to get a jury here in Baltimore. So that is, we believe, the side of the prosecution. 15 minutes each side. And really, Exhibit A for the defense today is going to be that civil settlement yesterday that was agreed upon by the city of Baltimore, $6.4 million to the family of Freddie Gray. The mayor said the money was no issue. They had it through other recoveries and other settlements, that it will go starting within 10 days. And remember, no civil suit was filed by the family of Freddie Gray. And the defense is going to say $6.4 million really confirms to this community that these police officers committed a crime, and they are, in essence, innocent until proven guilty. But this settlement agreement so early in the game proves that we have to move this case.
And of course, that factors into defense attorney's mind in seating an impartial jury. Miguel Marquez was in Baltimore yesterday. He talked with people on the streets to see if seating an impartial jury when these trials begin is possible. Let's listen.
It's not as much that they should get. They should get much more.
Why?
Because of what he went through.
Do you think it's a measure of justice for the family?
Yeah, I do, yeah. But that would not bring that boy back. Life is worth more than money.
All right, so there's a lot of that kind of sentiment out there, Philip. So is it possible to have a fair trial, to seat an impartial jury for these 6 police officers that are going to go on trial?
Well, good morning, Carol. You know, the criminal trial jury is said to be the cradle of American liberty. It is literally the entity that stands between the citizen who enjoys the presumption of innocence and the government who is trying to send that person to prison. So the last thing a trial judge needs, Carol, is for there to be this question. Is the jury sitting in the jury box wondering about this settlement? What does it mean? Does it mean that the mayor has already decided that they're guilty? And by the way, if I'm a taxpayer in Baltimore, why am I having to pay it? So I think that the judge really probably has no choice but to move it. I think it's probably a mistake for the prosecution to even challenge this, because in the event of a conviction, they do not want or need this to be an issue on appeal that could possibly lead to having to do this twice or even multiple times in the event that the trials were severed.
This judge has made some unusual moves already. He decided to hold 6 separate trials, and some legal analysts say that's kind of weird.
Well, it's within the judge's discretion, and I think that it's designed, that ruling was designed, Carol, to make sure that each officer gets a fair trial, because some evidence that might be admissible as to one defendant may not be admissible as to another. And so you want to make sure that each individual defendant has all of their rights protected. And so that even adds to the argument that the venue needs to be changed, because picking one fair jury out of the population of Baltimore is one thing, but picking 6 is quite another.
You got that right. Philip Holloway, Gene Casares, thanks to both of you. I appreciate it.